Why is that included in there? Did you play for St. Patty's Day?
You want? Are you disturbing them today? You can get it.
They're in green still.
That's St. Patty's. I think it's tomorrow.
Well, then you can.
I'll come over. I have a. Wait a minute. She has a.
Really?
Yeah, and then if I get them, I'll show you. I can take yeah, but I mean, the other side, they're taking some food up.
All right, what time we got?
Did you do anything for St. Patty's Day? No. we should organize like a unitarian get together. David plays fiddle, and I can pair he plays snare with the jigs and harmonies.
I guess I can bring up the guitar.
My place next year. Yeah, a little bit. I have one.
I have one too, so
He's got a even just the grip, the way you hold it,
and it's kind of throbbing motion.
you know, so like a roll, like a figure eight. That's it.
Pardon?
3 minutes?
Yeah. We're just going to start with a few announcements. The first one is Soulful Homes. We have a new program. If anybody has kids or grandkids or other kids in their life and you would want to learn more about how to incorporate spirituality in your day-to-day life, or even if you're just feeling more childlike, you can sign up for this program and we can send you some resources that kind of go with the same Soul Matters themes that we're using sometimes in the service and in the small groups. So you can just email me if you would like to get that information. And we also have our Soul Matters discussion circle as well that are still taking new people if anybody wants to join. The information is up there and you can contact Alan. And Celia has an announcement as well.
Hi. Hi. I'm Celia, and just wanted to make sure that everybody knows about an event that the Unitarian Justice team is organizing. It's on April 3rd, so that's 2 Mondays from now, and it'll be in the hall. We're organizing it in conjunction with the United Church Sustainability Action Group for the Environment, and it's an exciting event where we have Zipporah Berman, who's a climate advocate who's won awards and being involved since the days of Clayoquot Sound and is one of the major leaders in this country and in this province. And she's going to be speaking about how we can be climate leaders, the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty movement. And so it'll be a discussion with her. So we're hoping that you can help spread the word. We're trying to get the posters right now and it might spread them. But yeah, so it's at 6 o'clock at the sanctuary here at United Church.
What's the date?
Monday, April 3rd.
At what time?
6 o'clock. It's in the announcements and everything, so I'm excited about that. Hope you can come. Thanks.
There was an article about it in the record
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
And then, does anybody else have any announcements before we begin? Nope. Okay.
Clear the day. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Tara Bonham. I'm on the board and I'm a member of the Sunday service team. And I'm here to welcome you to the Comox Valley Unitarian Fellowship. We welcome people of all identities, including all races, ethnicities, gender identities, sexualities, abilities, and economic backgrounds. We value diversity and believe it strengthens us and our community. We invite you to bring your whole self here. Okay. And now we're doing land acknowledgement. For thousands of years, Indigenous people occupied the shoreline of eastern Vancouver Island in a place referred to as the Land of Plenty. We acknowledge that we meet here on the traditional territory of the Petlatch, Ixon, and Comox First Nations.
Our opening words today are from Albert Einstein. A human being is a part of a whole called by us the universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself and his thoughts and feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for only a few persons nearest us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty. And now for our story. Today it's called The Hueys in It Wasn't Me. And this is the Hueys. The thing about the Hueys was that most of the time they got along. But every so often, they didn't. And it was one of those times that Gillespie came across a bit of an argument. "What are you fighting for?" he asked. "He started it." "Me?" "It wasn't me, it was him." "No, it wasn't." "He did it." No, it was not me." "What? It wasn't me. She did it." "What? Yes, really. I'm angry." It seems like they couldn't agree on anything. "Wait," said Gillespie. "Wait! What are you fighting about?" Gillespie still wanted to know. That seemed to stump them. Not sure really. Can't remember. Do you want to see a dead fly? Of course. Why didn't you say it earlier? How long's it been dead? And that is one way to settle things. So I'd like to invite anybody who would have a joy or concern to share today to come on up. We have some pebbles in the bowl of water here, and you can share at the mic, and we will.
One for a friend who is passing, and one for my nephew who's in prison, 5 to 7 years, and my sister who just needs support.
Could you talk at the mic?
So, first one's for a friend who has cancer, who is passing in about next month or two. Second one is the big one, is my nephew who's in prison for 5 to 7 years in Florida. And the other one's my sister who's his mom.
The stone is in memory of my brother-in-law, Don, Marilyn's brother, who did a maid a year ago yesterday. And so he's been on my mind a lot. He suffered from Parkinson's, and it seems to be very present in my life. I have another brother-in-law with Parkinson's, a cousin with Parkinson's, and a couple of close friends here in the valley with Parkinson's. So, yeah, it's been on my mind.
Tilt the mic up, Steve.
Hi, I'm Stephen. This is a rock of joy. My dad was born today in 1913. And he was Unitarian, but he didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, this is a little rock of joy. Not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, Jules and I are going to Calgary to visit my niece. But that's not the main reason we're going, that's just a bonus. While we're there, someone is going to be coming to her house and delivering 2 little puppies to us. And you all know what kind they are. So Billy and Bobby are going to have little sisters.
How many dogs will we have?
They'll have 4 dogs.
10.
Gilakatla Samuna Big House Hayo. Thank you to the Samuna Big House in Duncan for hosting a really unbelievably powerful healing ceremony for someone outside of their tribe to come and take part in, like Paula's son Mike, and for inviting us to their house to help support that family in their healing.
I'm probably a little out of date, but 3 weekends ago, Mike and I went to Victoria to participate in a rally for the old growth forests. And it was like a giant prayer for several hours. It was just, I'm still high from it. If you get a chance to look at any of the videos, it's worth it. And the other side of that is the agony of watching progress move so slowly towards saving what's left.
So I have a joy to share that a lot of you hopefully are sharing too, is the amazing herring spawn. It brings all the sea lions and the orcas, and like every day is an adventure, especially if you're on CVWS. So that's an amazing thing about our wonderful valley, but also the concern is the boats getting too close, and also people are burning pallets on the beaches and it leaving behind a lot of rusty nails. So if you see any pickup trucks with pallets, let them know. Shouldn't do that.
I'm Barbara, and I have a stone that's thanks to many people. We had our board meeting yesterday, and it was amazing, and people volunteered for things. And I wanted to thank Renan and Steve, who have volunteered to be our delegates to the CUC AGM this May. So they'll be our votes in the assembly. And I wanted to thank Barbara for her recipe for gluten-free baking, and I tried it. So try some of we've tried some, and they got the approval of the person, the minister. So you must say it's blessed. It's blessed. Blessed. Oh yeah.
Hi, my name is Annika, and this stone is for my son, who is bipolar and is currently experiencing an escalating, I call it hypomania at this time. And so the stone is for him and his family and the co-housing community where he lives, to just give him the love and support and grounding that he needs. And this is for the joy that this has been going on for a few days, so it's been a definite concern for myself and his family. But this is for a stone of joy, for the joy I felt last night when there was an amazing concert at Sid Williams called Out of the Woods, which was a beautiful musical, and I forgot about everything except this wonderful performance. So I can enjoy. Thank you.
Just sharing a concern and a joy. Colleague that I worked many years with here is dealing with brain cancer quite suddenly. So that's a huge concern. And having to drive to Victoria for radiation, and hopefully that'll get her through. She's already had brain surgery. It all happened very suddenly. But I talked to her today and she sounded amazing, positive, and it was just so good to hear her voice. So I'm very concerned, but I'm also risking that joy that she might be one of those who comes through.
This is for Donna Ziner. I'll read this loudly. To Joyce, our daughter Chloe just returned safely from a work adventure in Brazil. Our daughter Sophie will arrive here today after driving here from the East Coast via Texas. Yeehaw!
And I will put a final one for any of the joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our space today. And we can hold each other's concerns in our hearts and celebrate with everyone the joys they've brought today.
A switch.
We're remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Each time our
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Each time our greed blinded us with others.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For the selfishness which separates heart and mind.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For falling short of that.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For losing.
forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
For those and for so many acts, both evident and subtle, which have been
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
I moved to Toronto in early 2009 for a job. I was super excited about it. In the first 6 months, things were going really well. I felt confident in my work. I was a little overqualified, but not so much it was boring, but I could really hit the ground running, as they say. I was able to do collaborative, creative work. I met all my assigned deadlines, even though some of them were quite optimistic. I had strong working relationships with the team and even made several friendships. A few I'm still friends with 15 years later. I had weekly meetings with my supervisor who affirmed the work I was doing and regularly praised my creative and organizational skills. He didn't have great boundaries, but we had a good, friendly working relationship. Awesome, right? Or maybe you're waiting for the problem. I guess it would make a very interesting story if there wasn't a problem. Anyway, I was not anticipating a problem. When I went for my 6-month review, I was really excited about the work that I had done, and I was really looking forward to the next 6 months. When I went in, my supervisor spent an hour making a series of complaints about my work over the last 6 months. Most of them were untrue or completely out of context. He said things like, "You refused to make me a timeline of your work." And I clarified that when he'd asked me on my first day, I said that I couldn't really do it on the first week because I needed to get to know the resources and how responsive the team was before I could make an accurate timeline. I reminded him I had made one in the second week, and it was color coded. I was really proud of it. It was really color coded and showed how I was going to do all these projects by this deadline. And then he was like, "Oh, right, I remember that. Yeah, that was really helpful." And then he moved on to his next item. We went through his list like this. Fortunately, I had created detailed notes on the work that I'd done every week to give to him in our supervision meeting. I hadn't done it in any other job before or since, but he really seemed to appreciate it, so I kept doing it. Which meant in this meeting, he brought these notes and everything was documented. So every time he brought something up, we could refer to these notes, and they contradicted what he was claiming. Towards the end, I asked him why he hadn't brought up any of these issues in any way in the last 6 months. And he said he was trying to be supportive. Okay. Well, I would be happy to do things in another way. Anyway, it was like, since we've clarified that many of these things aren't accurate, can you remove them from my evaluation before you file it? He refused. A couple of weeks after that meeting, we had another meeting that was supposed to be mediated by his supervisor. Although she didn't really mediate, she sat quietly and took notes. In that meeting, I came prepared with my list of points and my questions. For example, he had agreed that I'd given him the timeline, so why was he refusing to take it off the evaluation? When his supervisor asked me to share what I had to say, I got my list out, I took a breath, I looked at my list, and I realized it's not gonna work. So I said, I don't think this is the right approach. And I had no idea what the right approach would be, but I was like, this is not it. They didn't know why. So they insisted I should read Midland, so I read Midland, and it went over good. I resigned a couple weeks later. And that whole experience totally, deeply disturbed me. And it wasn't just the shock of being totally caught off guard, although that was really disturbing. But what really disturbed me was that I realized I hit a solid wall in my communications because I had no idea where to go with this. In my previous work life and in my personal life, I'd frequently been told I had good communication skills, and I'd clearly reached the outer limit. I knew the approach we were taking was not the right. I had no idea what would be right, but there was part of me that believed there was a different way, a better way. And after some therapy, some talking to other people who'd worked with them, and a bit of distance, I could see that that situation was mostly about him. It was a repeating pattern, but I was still sure I could have handled it better. The following year, I enrolled in a mediation class. By the end of the first day, things made so much more sense. Much like in the Huey story we heard earlier, the conflict wasn't about the things that we were discussing. And it turns out that's really common conflict. When we met the second time to try and resolve the conflict, I felt betrayed and hurt. And what I needed was to feel like I could trust him again, which really didn't have anything to do with my list of points. And that list only got us further apart. After my mediation certificate, I ended up volunteering in a restorative justice program that works with youth in the criminal justice system. And when beginning this journey, it expanded my view of conflict even more. My view of harm, of crime, of community, and how I am in the world changed in ways that I couldn't have anticipated. Restorative justice has been practiced in most Indigenous cultures around the world, though it can take different forms. And it takes a completely different view on conflict and in crime, especially than the traditional justice system. Our traditional justice system asks, what law or rule was broken, who broke it, and what punishment do they deserve? The restorative justice system asks, what is the harm that's caused by this event? Who are the people involved in this harm? What needs have arisen from the harm? Who is accountable for the harm? And what will they do to repair it? And how can those involved be reintegrated into the community? The principles of restorative justice see crime as a violation of people and interpersonal relationships. Violations create obligation, and the central obligation is to right wrong. So in doing this, the restorative justice movement keeps victims' needs central throughout it, and it encourages all those harmed to understand, be accountable, and take responsibility for their actions. And it promotes individual, community, and societal healing and relationship building. And we have a kind of cultural view often of accountability as often harming people who have harmed others. But in restorative justice, accountability is taking responsibility, articulating the impact of your actions, expressing remorse or regret, and a promise of how things are going to be different in the future. When I was working with youth in Toronto, most had signed up for restorative justice because they thought it was an easy option. If they successfully completed the program, they wouldn't have a criminal record, and that seemed less scary than going in front of the judge. With every youth that I worked with who completed the program, there was two key moments in this process. The first moment was when they realized it was way harder than going in front of the judge. And the second was when they realized we actually cared about them, like for real. We cared about what happened. We cared about what was going on for them. And we cared about finding a solution that worked for them while holding them accountable for those actions. And in actual fact, most of the youth, once they went through the process, offered to repair the harm in ways way beyond what would anybody else would expect from the situation. For some youth, there was a third moment where they realized how much their action had impacted other people. They really didn't understand that. Most of them came in feeling really powerless. And they were genuinely surprised when they realized how much they had harmed other people. They hadn't really considered it from the other side, but they generally thought there was going to be no big deal to the other person. Restorative justice is incredibly effective with working with youth who have been involved with crime. In Canada, it's used sporadically, so it can be hard to see the effect. But New Zealand, there was a movement in the 1980s where some of the Aboriginal groups there asked the government for restorative justice to be used with their youth. The pilot projects that they did were so successful that New Zealand mandated this for all youth. And they were able to shut down all but one of their juvenile detention centers in the whole country. Within a couple of decades, they closed down most of their adult detention centers because of those youth weren't continuing down the path that they would have been if they'd gone down the traditional criminal justice system. So, inspired by all of this, I ended up going to California to work with a woman who trained schools, all school staff, administration, teachers, custodial staff, everybody on how to use restorative justice and to create this whole school approach. And really the goal of this was to create a culture of caring in the school. And one of the main goals was to avoid kids getting into the criminal justice system in the first place. So this was a three-tiered approach. The first tier is everybody in the community would do restorative service. And we would do them to build community, to get to know each other. It's very astounding in many classrooms that kids are sitting beside each other day in, day out. They don't know anything about each other. They're not relating, despite the fact that they're all the time. So part of it was to build that relationship, to give them skills, to get to know each other, and fully have a relationship. And so that's the kind of the first level. And then the second level is like if there's a minor instances, some conflict in the classroom or in the hallways, that they can use some of these things that they're practicing in the big circles with each other to resolve conflict. And then the third level is if there's a serious conflict happened or something that involves a big group of people. And then you get into more conflict circles. But they found when they started to integrating this into schools, that 95% of conflict and harm were dealt with level 1. They just disappeared. And so there's 5% left that had to go to level 2 or level 3 to be resolved. And in doing the circles, as well as doing the circles, we would have to teach the youth more social emotional skills, more communication, and teaching alternative ways to violence when they have conflict to resolve. And the teachers, we also talked more about the early adverse childhood experiences or ACEs and youth developmental things, including trauma and other development, how the brain develops, so that they had a better understanding of youth actual. And this work is grounded in 7 core assumptions. One is the true self in everyone. Everyone is good, wise, and powerful. How we behave or feel is not the same as who we are. And that our core self is not always reflected in our actions or our feelings. The second is the world is profoundly interconnected, which means there's no throwaway people. What we do to others, we do to ourselves, even if we don't realize it at the time. The third is all human beings have a deep desire to be in a good relationship. People want to be loved and to love, and everybody wants to be respected. And this particularly often doesn't show up in people who haven't been loved and are not respected. The fourth is all humans have gifts and everyone is needed for what they bring. In nature, diversity is a source of strength, and interdependence is necessary for our survival. We need different people as they see and do things differently. And especially at a time where we are going through so much culture change, we need those different perspectives. Next is everything we need to make a positive change is already here. Human creativity and human commitment are the greatest treasure and greatest hope. It's easy to believe that the resources we need to make our common needs, to meet our common needs, are scarce or limited. However, what we assume is a lack of resources is often a question of values and priorities. Sixth is humans are holistic. Our mind, body, emotions, and spirit are in everything that we do. And finally, we need practices to build habits of living from our core self so that we can align with our values and that we can build a culture that reinforces our sense of connection. So some of those you might find familiar to what we are doing here. It certainly did. When I was doing this before I found you, but when I found you, I was like, similarities going on here. So when I was leading these circles, both with the youth in the criminal justice system and in the schools, I realized just how much leading these circles was creating sacred space and how much people hungered for this space. And not just the youth, even when we went to train the teachers and we were training them to do the circles, by doing the circles, they got so deep into it. Whether it was teachers, whether it was admin, whether it was custodial, whether it was youth, they got into it. And to me, it just became over time clear just how spiritual this work is. We were creating a sense of beloved community in secular spaces with people from all kinds of backgrounds. And we can use those practices to build beloved community here in Unitarian Universalism as well. And there are places that are already starting to use restorative practices. The UU Ministers Association and the UUA in the US are both using models of restorative justice now for when things go wrong in congregations or institutions where ministers or other religious professionals have caused harm in some way, or kind of harm has been caused to them. And this is a really big culture shift. The previous model that they had was more legalistic and punitive, which meant that people would often not make complaints when things were small. And they'd wait until things got really big. And so there was often problems going on for years, if not decades, before things were addressed in many situations. And like in the criminal justice system, the options that they had was really limited. Like in those used in the criminal justice system, when they went before the court, the judge had the option of sending them to jail, letting them go free. Like, there was not a lot of nuance or ability to fit the situation or the kid's circumstances. So it was similar in this process. Now there's encouragement to like make complaints or bring things forward early. And there's a much more nuanced approach to resolving issues. And the goal is to keep the process of accountability it's a process of accountability that wants to keep people in the movement. We don't want to wait till things get so bad and then kick them out. We want to have them come in and be part of this. And as we all know, it's easier to solve conflicts when they're smaller than when they've been going on for years. So, so that's been happening. Of course, there are those who realize that this process is harder than the older one, just like Lucy. And and it calls us to really look at ourselves and our actions and to change our perspectives in ways that some people don't want to live. But I think this process asks us to be really true to our principles and our covenants, and it's much more in line with our values and our goals as a spiritual. Though, of course, it's not just about resolving conflicts. We can also use these to create connections and to build supportive communities and create accountability in ways that we are in the day-to-day. For example, many of the small groups can and do use restorative practices or very similar models like our circle of trust model to build community connection. The woman who I worked with in California, she would frequently say, justice is not primarily about what you do when things go wrong. It's about how you live so that things go right. Things go right when each being's place in the whole is honored and respected. Justice then is primarily about how to live in good relations with all our relations. May we support each other to live so that things may go right in this community and in the world. And when we don't, may we begin again in love.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
So at this time, we're going to pass a basket. Aiden, the basket's right there. Got it. There's envelopes in the basket. You can identify where you'd like your resources to go. Any contributions will be very gratefully accepted by cash or check. And if there's a special collection at the same time, and this is going towards a restorative justice lecture, there's a poster on the back on the Outreach Social Justice Board there. So the Iona Capitola lecture on restorative justice. So that's what the support is for. You can also contribute financially through PayPal, e-transfer, or setting up a regular donation through a PAD. And that information should be up on the slide. Along with financial contributions, we can also contribute with our volunteer time. So there's lots of volunteer opportunities, and I'll list a few. The opportunities to be available are either an ongoing one, such as join the Sunday services team, hospitality. We need people to organize potlucks and coffee after services. Membership, outreach, special events. So many of those things can be ongoing and sometimes just a one-off if there's a special event. And whether you're an introvert or extrovert, there's lots of ways to be involved either in person or online and have lots of fun. So thank you very much for all your contributions, whether financial, volunteer, or both. Thanks very much.
This is the form you'll find on our website. This is our time and talent, 2023, it should be. And you can check off what you need to do and submit, and it will get back to our board.
There's also contact information if you want to go directly to a particular team on the contact us page on the website, or talk to Arran. He'll be happy to talk to you.
I'll be happy to talk to you anytime about anything.
cbuf.ca.
So for closing words today, in every person we meet, especially those who cause us discomfort, may we find an opportunity to grow, to learn, to go further along the path of transformation that is our purpose in life. Every single one is our teacher. May the next week bring many such moments of meeting that help you become the person you want to be, and may you welcome them with joy.
Stuff on the next.
Or tea and snack.
I think that would be.
Sorry, I couldn't make it and I just wanted to see everybody.
Hi, Christy.
Hi.
Let me turn the camera here for you.
Hmm, it's so nice to see everybody.
Okay, hold on, here we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry I missed it.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. You come in and you come in and you that's what you can, all right?
Yeah.
So I had a big talk today. I don't know if you heard it, but it's gonna be up on the website.
Pardon?
All right, big talk today about restorative justice rather than punitive justice.
Oh,
Pretty cool. It's gonna be on the website in a couple days.
okay, good, good, good. I'll go look at it.
All right, good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Hugs and love for everybody.